I wish every person would read this book. And if you will allow me just a few minutes, I want to tell you why I include you in that list of everyone who I think would benefit from reading this book. My name is John Chandler, and on this channel, I talk about practical wisdom for mindful living. I describe mindful living as living with an awareness of how you are living. So I like to talk about practices, resources, ideas for you to consider how you might live in a way that makes the most of your life, that gives you an awareness and an attentiveness to how you are living. So this book is How to Know a Person by David Brooks. I really did just pause as if I couldn't remember what the title of this book is, even though I've been thinking about this video for quite some time. In the beginning of this book, one of the things that David Brooks says is that when you find a healthy person, you find somebody who has the ability to help others feel seen. A healthy person is generally someone who knows how to relate to others in a healthy way. And it seems silly that we would have a book as if it were a manual with however many, 100 pages this is, 250 plus pages about how to know a person. But I think this book was so timely when it was published just a few years ago, and it continues to be timely today. One of the recurring conversations I keep having with people, just in terms of friendships, in terms of family members, in terms of casual conversations I've had, in terms of the work that I do, even as a spiritual director and a wisdom collaborator, is we're struggling to know how to sustain good, meaningful relationships. And I think that is a skill that we are losing more and more. There's more distrust. There's more caution. There's more sense of division, even in if we have ideas or if we have ways we think that are different from other people, the chance for a relationship might be threatened. On top of that, there is a constant sense of false connection that we get when we engage digitally with other people. That's not to say we can't experience connection to some degree digitally, but the most meaningful relationships, the most genuine way to actually feel tangibly seen is by being in conversation, being in meaningful relationship with other people. And so that is what David Brooks sets out to describe. He describes really his own journey because he realized in a way that I can echo and resonate with quite a bit in my own journey. He realized that most of his life, he had not actually had many meaningful, rich, deep, authentic relationships. And it became something that he decided he needed to choose for his life and he needed to learn how to do in his life. So this book in many ways it's not a memoir, it's not a autobiography, but it does describe his own journey to have meaningful relationships, to be known by others and to know others. And it's a very practical book on top of that. So I would encourage you, as someone who might desire to be a healthy person, as someone who might desire to be a person who lives with an awareness of how they're living, as a person who wants to live mindfully, to imagine what role relationships play in your life and how you can be more intentional about cultivating meaningful relationships where there is some level of shared knowledge of another person, some level of shared vulnerability. One of the goals that I have in my life, goals isn't quite the right word. One of the practices, one of the rhythms that is really a priority for me to have in my life is I want to make sure that I spend at least 1 hour a week minimum with another person outside of my family who will just ask me how I'm doing and who I feel like I can be completely honest with, and I can reciprocate that with them and ask them how they are doing. So at the end of each week, as I reflect back on my week, that's one of the things I look at is how many of those kind of conversations did I have and how did they go? And I've got to tell you, I've got to be intentional about putting those relationships on my calendar. I have a collection of friends that I get together with anywhere from every 2 weeks to every couple months. And I try to have these conversations in person. I hope you'll consider reading this book. No matter how you think you're doing relationally, I think all of us can benefit from more intentional relationships with other people. More time that we spend connecting. I think that's how we're wired. I think that's what we're made for. I think almost all of the major philosophical views and major religions of the world would agree that humans are made to be in connection with one another. And if you need a little help, and even if you don't think you need a little help, a book like this might benefit you. One of the things I perhaps appreciate as much as anything else in this book is how he closes the book, because the final chapter is about wisdom. And it was very much a learning for me. I've talked about this, I think, in other videos and in other places, that wisdom is not something that a person possesses. I call myself, in some of my work, a wisdom collaborator, right? I'm not the bringer of wisdom. I'm not a guru. I'm not a dispenser of wisdom. He describes, and this is where I pull this from, that wisdom is actually something that exists between people. That as we exchange ideas and conversation, as I offer reflections from my life and compare them or have them in tension with reflections from your life, wisdom is birthed in that space between two people. And so if we want to live lives with more wisdom in them, wisdom is a byproduct of these kind of deep and meaningful relationships. And of course, that is why I absolutely love this book, because wisdom is something that I've come to desire and value more in my life. Even if he didn't include this chapter on wisdom at the end, though, I would say that this is a book that I would be thankful that I've read, that I would encourage you to read, that I would encourage all my friends to read. So I'd love to hear your comments about this. Have you read this book? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? This is the first video I've made about a book. It's the only video so far I've considered making specifically about a book. That's because I think it's so valuable. I'm curious what your experience has been with this book, or what do relationships look like for you? What tips, what ideas do you have for how you can cultivate and foster relationships in your own life that some of the rest of us might benefit from? Again, my name is John Chandler. I would be really grateful if you like content like this, if you would like this video, if you would subscribe for future videos, and of course, leave a comment down below on some of your own thoughts and some of your own ideas about all this. Thanks so much for watching.